Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again. So this is part 2 of my three-part series on how to learn and teach kanji. Now, self-studiers, you'll probably get something out of this, but this is actually geared a little bit more towards teachers. So this one is how I teach my students in my high school classroom how to read kanji. So back to the beginning, when I first get my students, I only teach them hiragana. I focus everything on hiragana. I only introduce kanji once their hiragana is more solid. But once their hiragana is solid, I start using a lot of kanji in their readings, in all the readings I give them. But I put a furigana guide, so the little hiragana characters, over top of all of the kanji. So this is just helping them get a little bit used to seeing more kanji, and some of them pick some up from that, some completely ignore it. But the next step is, after they've been seeing the kanji for a little bit, is I start to take away some of that furigana. Now I do it really slowly, only one or two at a time, and I only do it with the kanji that are very well known to them. So for example, watashi, ikimasu, iimasu, ski, words that they've been seeing a lot for their whole time studying Japanese, and words that they're going to keep seeing in future stories. So it's that repetition that's really key. Now the nice thing about doing kanji this way is I don't eat up a lot of my class time explicitly teaching or practicing their kanji characters. It just happens in their readings anyways. And by the time I take away the furigana, a lot of them have seen the character enough times that it doesn't even matter. They don't actually have to go and study that character. They already know it just from having seen it so many times. Now, any Japanese teacher knows, as soon as you toss some kanji in there, there's going to be some kids, no matter how simple it is, that freak out. Oh, it's kanji. I can't do kanji. It's too complicated. It's too hard. So I do have a few strategies that I try to use with them. I like to point out the context. So a lot of the time, right when we're first starting and they just need to get over that hump, there's a lot of context in the reading that'll help them. So, for example, with the word ikimasu, even if they don't understand kanji, they can still read the kimasu, and they can think about the kanji that I'm expecting them to know. Hopefully, ikimasu comes to mind. Or the kanji like watashi, well, there's not too many kanji right off the bat that are just self-sufficient like that, so hopefully again that gives them a little bit of hint, as well as the overall meaning of the sentence or the story or whatever it is. Now, this method works particularly well with the TPRS method, just because of the huge number of repetitions the students get of all of their vocab words throughout all the readings that we do. I would imagine it would be a lot more difficult to pull off in a standard traditional textbook-driven classroom, just because the students don't tend to get as many repetitions of all the words. They just don't see them all that often. Now, a key thing to remember about this is not a method to memorize all kanji. It's not what I recommend for someone trying to do that. I'll talk about that more in my third video. What this is for is it's for helping my students become a little bit more comfortable reading the kanji, getting a little bit more comfortable seeing it pop up in their readings, and start to get a little bit of a handle on it. The other thing that I find it really helpful for is if we teach them the kanji for a verb, then when that verb pops up later with a difficult conjugation or something that they're not quite familiar with, they still understand the overall meaning of the word. Okay, so again, it's just a really, really, really simple method. It's as simple as let them see a lot of the kanji with furigana, very, very slowly take it away. That key point is slowly, and then after you've taken it away, make sure that they still get a lot of repetitions of that kanji. Now again, this is just for reading. I'd prefer them reading more rather than taking time trying to learn how to write those characters at that point. So it's up to you whether you have a different philosophy than that, but what I'm talking about right now is purely for being able to recognize the kanji when they see it in stories. So, and the other thing I should mention is, even before I take away the kanji in the stories, I generally use the kanji on the board when I write vocab up for whatever story we're currently working on, and I'm pointing to it as we're chatting. I'll write up the kanji, and then I can just simply include as part of the conversation, oh yeah, what was this kanji? In Japanese, of course, and there's always a few people that know it. So again, they've already had it reinforced quite a bit before they're expected to know it without any furigana or any help of any kind. Unfortunately, there is a lack of resources for using this method. So unless you're lucky enough to have a Japanese teacher that's writing some stories for you and gradually taking away your furigana, it's a little limited. My second short story book, which should come out sometime in the next year after it's been piloted in a classroom, is going to use this method. That being said, if you're a little more on the advanced side, there's already materials there for you. So youth novels are particularly great if you're more advanced, because for a lot of the time the kanji, they'll have the little furigana guide, at least on the more challenging words, at least the first time they use them. So it's still going to be too challenging for a lot of learners, but it's kind of the next step out there once you're at the level that you can comfortably read a novel. And I probably will do another video at some point about how to approach reading novels that are intended for native Japanese speakers, because there's a few different ways to do that. Anyways, I hope this has been helpful. Again, this is just a really long-winded way of saying, let them see the kanji a lot in their readings. Be very slow and deliberate, only taking away furigana for the really common ones that you think they probably know anyways. And then after you've taken it away, make sure that they still see that come up all the time. Okay, so hope this was helpful. I will see you in part 3, where I will talk about how I learned to write kanji and actually remember it or acquire it long term, rather than what I used to do, which is just memorize it for the test and then forget it. So, thank you again. See you next time. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe wherever it is here popping up somewhere.